Electric flux. What is with electric flux? So when a charged inner sphere that is enclosed by an outer sphere that is uncharged and is separated by an insulation in between two spheres, it was found out that the previously uncharged sphere was now filled with charge. And then this charge now in the outer sphere was the same as the charge present in the inner sphere. This displaced charge is called electric flux. Sir, what ko kasabot, sir? Okay, now. Atong ikuan, no? Akong atong buhatan og diagram para mas masabtan. So, di pasabutan ng electric flux. Yung gitawag siya nga displaced charge. Now, initially, okay, during experimentations, first you have an inner sphere. No? You have an inner sphere niya enclosed by an outer sphere. Now, in between the inner sphere and the outer sphere, there's a may tawag ganun. Okay, so in between sa inner sphere ug sa outer sphere, there's a tawag na to og sa may term button sa tong notes. Insulation, may gikuan, no? Is separated by an insulation in between the two spheres. Okay? So, in between the inner sphere and the outer sphere, there is an insulation. Okay? So, this insulation is, of course, non-conductive. Now, at first, there's charges, no? There are charges inside our inner sphere. Okay? Na ay mga charges dari. Okay? Let's say, mo na ito ang kuan, no? Mo na ito ang inner sphere. Now, of course, as I've said, na ano yung mga charges diha. Okay? Now, it was found out na ang mga charges present inside the inner sphere were now found outside the outer sphere. So, na itong color. Red lang. Okay? So, nanadari sa gawas ang mga charges. And it was found out that the charges outside were previously the charges inside the inner sphere. And now they're now outside. Okay, they're now present in the outside sphere, which means that the charges present in the inner sphere were displaced towards the outer sphere. So displaced meaning nabalhin or na transfer. Okay, now this transfer of charges, okay, is called this transfer of charges is called electric flux. Okay. Now, electric flux basically is just electric charge. Now, sa may kalahian nila, anong gilahi man siya og term electric flux compared sa electric charge? Okay. First, gitawag siya nga electric charge ra is basically because these are the charges present within the inner sphere nga na-displace lang or na-transfer lang padong sa outer sphere. Now, since these are not the original, since the charges in the outer sphere are not were not the original charges, no, present in that outer sphere, but it was instead the original charges present in the inner sphere. So it's called electric flux, meaning these are the displaced charges. Okay, displaced charges or transferred charges. Okay, so that's why we have these terms so as to differentiate between what is an electric charge and what is an electric flux. So when you say electric charge, okay, it means that those are the charges that were present in that object and did not even undergo any displacement or any transfer. But when you say electric flux, those are charges present in that object that were displaced or that were transferred. So they were not originally there, but they were just displaced on that object. So when you say electric flux, automatic mga charges na ang na-transfer or mga charges na ang na-displace. When you say electric charge, those are the charges originally in that object itself. So wala na naka-experience og transfer, wala na naka-experience og displacement. So that's why it's called electric flux and electric charge. So obvious na nga there's another name, so gitawag siya nga electric flux para mailhan dayon or mabaw-an dayon nga mga charges nga naa diha dili wala gyud na originally diha, igo ra na transfer, igo ra na displace. Okay, now sir, unsa man nato pag-determine sa electric flux, sir? Okay, unsa man nato pagkahibaw kung pila may na-displace nga mga charges sa outer sphere gikan sa inner sphere? Okay, so it's very simple. You just have to determine pila di ay ang total charges on the inner sphere. Okay, kay kung makahibaw ka how many charges are there in the inner sphere, then basically those are the charges that are outside the outer sphere or mga na-displace na charges in the outer sphere. So once you know the total charge on the inner sphere, then basically that will be the charges in the outer sphere. Sir, so we need to determine the charge in the volume. Okay. Now, you have here where, again, no? So, ito ang electric flux is just equal to the charge. Okay. Charge in coulomb, wherein QT is the total charge of the object. And the total charge is equivalent to integral of rho S dA. Sabi ng rho S. Okay, let me clarify. The total charge or the electric flux is just equal to the integral of rho S times dA. Ano sabi ng rho S? Nabadaring? Ano ra? Rho S is the surface charge density, while A is the differential area of the object. Okay? Sir, nganong area man ni sir? Nganong dili man ni volume? Okay? Now, it's just area because basically that displaced charges are just present in the surface area of the sphere. Okay, or they were just displaced in the surface area, not around the whole volume, but the surface area alone. Okay, so ang kaning mga displaced charges nga naa sa sud ma-display ay mga original charges nga naa sa sud sa atong inner sphere were just displaced on the surface of the outer area. Okay, so that's why we're just going to determine or we're just going to solve the total charge in a surface area only. So this is the difference between electric flux and the volume charge. The volume charge, you have to determine the charge in the whole volume, okay, in the whole object with a certain volume. But for electric flux, okay, electric flux is just determining the displaced charges in the surface, okay, in the surface of an object. Okay, now nganong surface raman sir? It's because inig-displace ana niya, okay, inig-displace ana niya, the charges will go through the surface of the object. It will not form a volume, but it will instead charge toward the surfaces of the object, whether it's a sphere, whether it's a box, okay, sample box na, or whether it is a cylinder, inig-display sa imuha mga charges, the first thing ang ma-displace will be towards the surfaces of this object. So imagine no na ay certain charge sa inside sa imuhang box, then ika-displace ana, of course ma-displace na sila towards the different surfaces of the object. That's why what we're going to focus only is the surface area of the surface of the object. So kung box na siya, then that is rectangular. Kung cylinder na siya, there is a there is the tawag ni, the cylindrical surface, then you have the circular surface. Okay? So kung box lang ta, then mas dali kay parehas ra man puro matanan nga surface. Pero kung ari ta sa cylindrical, so lain-lain og lain-lain og forma. First you have the cylindrical surface, then you have the circular surface, so lain-lain og forma. So mas dali, again, mura gyapon no, mas dali kung rectangular ka. Pero medyo ma-complicate kung ari na ka sa cylindrical. Okay? Na how about sir ari sa ari na ka sa spherical. So sa spherical, basically mas dali ra pud siya kay usa man siya ka surface. That is kung tibuok nga sphere. Pero what if dili tibuok nga sphere? Pwede di ay sir? Yes, pwede. What if, for example, no? Ani, akong gitadtad, uy, nanay taho sa mo ah. Akong gitadtad ang sphere. Okay, for example, inani lang. Okay, ako orang inani, no? Ako orang gikuhaan og small chunk ang sphere. Okay? So, from here, there will be lots of surfaces na triangular surface. Nya na ay surface sa katong area dapit. Sige, atong iatubang na to. Okay? Okay, then, ana. Aha, ano day. Di day straight, ano day. Okay, na. So, naman yung drawing ay. Sige, nana, no? What if nana? Ako ang siyang nagkuha lang ko gamay nga chunk gikan sa akong sphere. Okay? So, there will be different surfaces. So, dali ra ang spherical kung as a whole. Pero, kung nagkuha lang ko gamay nga chunk diha, there will be different parts of your spherical surface. Okay? So, medyo mo complicate lang gihapon kumpara sa rectangular box nga kung magkuha ko og chunk sa rectangular box, puro rectangular box lang gihapon. Okay? So may nakanindot aning rectangular coordinate system. So all in all, sa asa ka nga part no sa ato ang topic, ang pinaka basic yun nga porma is ang kanigyong ang kanigyong rectangular coordinate system. Mao gyud pinaka basic. Okay? Now, sir, how to solve for the total charge? As you can see again, no, this is just integral. So, muna ko gingon nga, oy, you just have to recall your integration. Now, sir, asam taan yung differential area? Now, for the differential area, ato naman nang again, no, ato na nang asa naman to? Review. Nakaday. Ato na nang derive daan. So, muna to akong giingon before nga nag-derive da daan at first para when it comes to the point nga kailangan na nato, we're just going to take out those needed topics. For example, this one. For rectangular coordinate system, you have here the differential area. Area 1, area 2, area 3. Then for the spherical coordinate system, a cylindrical, you have area 1, area 2, area 3. And for spherical coordinate system, area 1, area 2, area 3. So this time, dili na sad ta differential volume ang atong kailangan. Ang atong kailangan is ang differential area na sad. Okay? So, we have to determine the unsa man na nga part sa imuhang, let's say kung arita sa pinakasayon, arita sa rectangular coordinate system. For example, ang ato ang gikuha nga surface is ang top nga surface. Yang top nga surface that is under differential area 3. So therefore, we're going to use dx dy. Okay? So what if we're going to determine the electric flux on the right side surface? Okay? So right side, unsa na siya? That is differential area 2. So we're going to use dx dz only. What if we're going to determine the displaced charges on the front of the surface? On the front surface. So we're going to use dy dz only. So that is for the rectangular coordinate system only. Okay? So if ang object is now cylindrical, so you have to determine asad asa man dapit nga surface sa imong cylinder, ang iyahang cylindrical surface, iyahang top ba nga surface, ang bottom nga surface, or ang inner parts sa imong cylinder. So you have to realize that, and then from there you will have to determine unsa man na siya nga surface, area 1, area 2, area 3. Then that is the that is the equivalent dayon nga differential area that you're going to use. Okay? So basically dili ra kaayo dako og difference sa differential volume or sa volume charge, di ra kay dako og difference. Kay integral ra man gihapon, but this time we're going to use differential area. Now, i-continue sa nako ha. Okay, so that is electric flux. So, ang pag-solve sa electric flux, basically, sayon ra. Because, integral raman ta, no? Naa naman tay formula sa area daan, and then, always, kaning surface charge density is always given. Okay, ang differential area, atuan na lang i-determine asa man na nga part sa ato ang surface. Sir, mas maayog na example, sir. Okay, mag-example ta, inigabot na nato sa Gauss Law na. Okay, kaya ang kaning electric flux is basically an application for Gauss Law. Okay? So ari sa tas electric flux density. What is electric flux density? From the name itself, gidaghanon density. How dense is the electric flux on that part? Okay? So electric flux density is the amount of electric flux present in a certain area. So again, ang electric flux is the transfer of charges on a certain surface. Now, since we're talking about the surface, so that is area in terms of area. So therefore, electric flux density is the amount of electric flux present in a certain area. So you have electric flux density D, represented by variable D. You have electric flux total with respect to the certain area. But from the situation in electric flux, if the inner sphere is made to become infinitely small, to the point that it is like similar to a point charge, then the density of the electric flux is equal to this one. Now, ganun na naman, sir. Okay, no? So, what if, for example, what if, inani, no? Di ba, inani magidunta, you have an inner sphere and you have an outer sphere. What if you're going to make the outer sphere infinitely big? Padakon ni mo maayo ang outer sphere. And then at the same time, ano na lang, padakon ni mo maayo ang outer sphere to the point nga ang imong inner sphere tungod sa kadako sa imong outer sphere, ang inner sphere mura na lang og point sa kagamay. Okay? It will transform into like this. Tungod sa kadako sa imong inner sphere, ang imong tungod sa kadako sa imong outer sphere, ang imong inner sphere mura na lang og point. Okay? Okay, tungod sa sobra kadako sa outer sphere. But take note, kani siya nga pamaagi, this is, di ba, this is just same as katong electric field intensity, katong point charge. So, tungod sa kagamay sa imong inner sphere, mura lang siya point charge. Okay? Na, dili lang nako ipakita ang derivations. So, pag inani nga mga senaryo, therefore, ang electric flux density will become E times E sub O. Okay? So, electric flux intensity times the open space permittivity. So, inani na lang mahitabo sa imong electric flux density. Now, electric flux density is very basic na lang, no? So, kay ba naman mo sa electric field intensity, multiply lang ni mong EO, mahitaboan ni ma-cancel out ang EO. So, with this, mahimo na lang siya again, no? D times, dili D. Bali. Electric flux density will be just become E sub O, electric field intensity times E sub O. Recall, you have Q over 4 pi E sub O times the distance squared. Multiply na to by E sub O. Ma-cancel out na. So, may bilin, Q na lang over 4 pi D squared. But, no need to memorize this one. Kana lang, no? Electric field intensity times the open space permittivity. So, this will be the equivalent electric flux density, and that is in terms of coulombs per meter squared. So, per meter squared because we're only realizing the amount of electric flux in a certain area only. So, that's why it's in terms of meter squared. Okay? But, it's not that important ang electric flux density. What's important yun is, we're going to take note of electric flux or we're going to apply electric flux. So, that's why, mas mo-focus ta sa electric flux. Let's proceed to Gauss Law. Okay? Now, Gauss Law. The total electric flux present in an object with a specific volume is equal to the sum of all electric flux present in every surface area of the object. Okay? So, simple lagi ang Gauss Law. If there will be displacement of charges in every surface area sa inyong object, okay? Then therefore, ang total nga electric flux ana nga object would be i-add up lang nimo or i-sum up lang nimo pila may electric flux in every surface. Okay? So in short, if you have a rectangular coordinate system or let's say you have a rectangular box, then ang total nga displaced charges or total nga electric flux present on this rectangular box would be ang flux nga present sa front surface plus ang flux nga present sa back surface plus ang flux nga present sa left surface plus ang flux nga present sa right surface, plus ang flux nga present sa top surface, plus ang flux nga present sa bottom surface. Okay? So, inana lang yun kasimple ang Gauss Law. If you want to determine the total flux, then isum up lang ang mga flux present in every surface. Now, ang problem aning Gauss Law is the more daghan ang surface, the more problematic, dili problematic, no? The more taas ang imuhang solution. Okay? Na naman, syempre, no? For example, for a rectangular box, you have 6 surfaces. Therefore, kaunom ka mag-integrate. Okay? So, mo ay problema sa Gauss Law. The more daghan ang surface, the more kadaghan ka mag-integrate. Sir, what if ang cylindrical? What if ang spherical? Sorry ta sa cylindrical. What if cylindrical? Okay? Kung cylindrical ta, if we're going to apply Gauss Law, pila man ka surface ang cylindrical. Okay? So, medyo mas mubo gamay ang cylindrical. Kung tibuok nga cylinder, ang imuhang surface would be kanilang top surface, then ang bottom surface, okay? Then, ang kaning imuhang cylindrical surface. So, technically, tulo lang ka surface kung whole cylinder ka. If we're going to apply Gauss Law. That is kung whole. Pero what if ako ning i-chop? Okay, what if ako ning i-chop diha nga part? So, may tabuan na ako ang cylindrical surface, mahimo nang inani, no? Okay, mahimo nang inani. Uy, here. So, pila naman ni ka surface. So, technically, dili na tulo ka surface lang alone. Okay, because you have this surface, top. Okay, then you have the bottom. Then you have the cylindrical surface. Okay, cylindrical surface. And then you have this side, this inner surface. Okay, so you have 4 na ka-surfaces. Ay, palihog kog mute. Kaya mo rin ba kayo? Okay, that is, kung inana ang forma sa imong cylinder, no? What if ako pagyud ng bungkago na kong surface? Let's say, for example, ako na siyang putlon pinaynana. O akong i-chop pinaynana. So, may tabuan na. Nani na sad, bago na sa tagporma. Inana na sa akong surface, no? Okay. So, nani na ang resulting nga surface. Kana. So, this time, dili na sad parehas ani ang number of surfaces. So, you have the top surface. You have the bottom surface. Okay? You have the cylindrical surface. You have this. So, may tawag nito ani. Tawag na lang tanig left inner surface o kani nga right inner surface. So, this time, lima na ka-surface. Okay? So, mas sayon ang cylindrical surface kung as a whole lang siya. Kahit tulo ramang kabuok. Pero, the more na to bungkagon ang cylinder, the more magkadaghan ang surfaces. Okay? So, for the cylinder, there will be a maximum of 5 surfaces kung ato siyang i-chop-chop yun ang cylinder. Okay? How about ang spherical, sir? So, spherical, recall, no, ang spherical coordinate system, it should be a hemispherical surface. Okay? Kung hemispherical ka, you only have 2 surfaces. You have the spherical surface and you have the bottom surface. Pero what if ako nang i-chop? So again, the more magkadaghan ang surface, the more na tong i-chop ang cylinder for us, sphere. Sample, inani na iporma, no? Okay, so inani na, no? So you have this surface, then ang bottom side nga surface, then ang ato ang spherical surface. So what if ako pagid nang i-chop? Samot, madaghan pagid ang surface. So meaning, pasabot di ana, ang pinakasayon, ang pinakadali nga surface gyud is ang rectangular coordinate system. Mo'y pinakadali. Nga naman, simple mo siya, bisan pa og daghan ka siya og surface, pero bisan pa kapila nimo i-chop, okay? Ang iyahang porma maura gyapon, ang surface maura gyapon. Front, back, left, right, top, bottom ra gyapon. Bisan kapila pa nimo na i-chop, okay? Pare-pareha sa gyapon na og surface. Okay? So mooy nakanindot sa rectangular coordinate system ang simplicity sa imuhang coordinate. Pero kung ari na ka sa spherical o sa cylindrical, okay, simple siya if it's a hole, no? Pero kung imuha nang ipang-chop ang imuhang mga surfaces sa cylinder o sa sphere, mahimo na siyang complicated. So, meaning mas dali gyud gihapon ang rectangular surface bisan pa og daghan kag i-add up or bisan pag daghan kag i-sum up. Okay? So, ang pinakadaghan og i-sum up nga surfaces ang rectangular coordinate system yun. Pero siya mo'y pinaka-simple. Okay? Again, bisag kapila pa na nimo i-chop, maura man gyapon ang porma, no? Front, back, left, right, top, bottom ra man gihapon na. Di pareha sa cylinder o sphere nga the more ka mag-chop sa imuhang surface, the more mag-complicate ang porma sa imuhang surface. Okay? Now, again, no, mas dali ni siya mas dali sabto ng Gauss law if we are going to apply, okay, if we're going to apply an example. Sige, mag-apply tayong example sa Gauss law. Asa na to? Puros naman eh. Riko, boss. Okay, example 1. Sige, a rectangular box contains electric flux density equal to let's say 4x squared plus 4x squared ax plus 8x cubed. Dili 8x cubed. 8y cubed ay plus 16xyz squared az. Coulomb per meter squared. Okay? So, rectangular box contains this electric flux density. Okay? Now, if sa aning if this box is located at, okay, so let's say it's located at 4x from 0 to 3 and for y from 0 to 5 and for z it's located at 1 to 4. Okay, so what if this is the location of your rectangular box? Find the total flux. No? Find the total flux. Very simple. Sir, nga nung electric flux density na sir, nga nung dili surface charge density. Okay? Now, for Gauss law, we're now expecting an electric field density na. Electric flux density na. Dili na, we're not going to determine anymore. Okay? Sa electric flux is just a single surface man lang, no? We're going to determine the electric flux on a single surface. But for Gauss law, we're going to determine the flux of a certain object that has multiple surfaces. So if it has multiple surfaces, then there is an equivalent density in that multiple areas. Okay, so that's why sa Gauss law, we're not going to use anymore the surface charge density. Again, surface charge density is only for single area. For Gauss law, you have multiple areas naman, therefore we're going to use the density present on that specific area. Okay, so that is Gauss law. So, electric field density na electric flux density na ta. Now, how to solve for the electric flux the total flux of this rectangular box? So, recall, again, flux total is equal to, okay, flux sa front plus flux, sa back plus flux sa left plus flux sa right plus flux sa top surface. Okay, top plus flux sa bottom surface. Okay, so basically kani, no? Kopyahon ko kani be. Paste. Na-paste ba? Muragwa. Type text here man maligawas. Ito na lang ning i-snip na nito. Snip, snip, snip. So, para naatay, nindot nga object na mabasihan. Copy, paste. Oh, yeah. So, muna itong object, no? So, basically, this is rectangular coordinate system, man. Makita man mo nga EX, AY. Sir, nga nung naman na EX, AY, AZ, sir? Okay? Now, let me explain, no? Nga nung naman na EX, AY, AZ. So, recall, if we're going to talk about surface charge density lang, okay? If we're going to talk about surface charge density, we are just determining the density on that certain surface without care for its direction. Without care, asa na dapit. Naaba na siya sa x-axis, naaba na siya sa y-axis, naaba na siya sa z-axis. So, wala na no, dili na importante kung surface charge density lang. Again, as I've said, ang electric flux alone is determining the electric flux on a single surface lang. Now, that single surface, it doesn't matter asa na dapit. Okay, naba na sa x-axis, naba na sa front, sa back, sa left, sa right, sa top, sa bottom, it doesn't matter. But for Gauss law, okay, we have a certain object na. We have a certain object with a definite form. Okay, if there is a definite form, of course, ang imuhang mga surfaces, there's a definite kuansad location. So for example, ang front surface nimo na siya definite location na sa front. Ang back surface na siya sa back nga location. Okay? That's why naa kay klaro nga location for a certain object. Okay? So therefore sa Gauss law, therefore naa kay unit vector. So recall ang unit vector is just a sign of a direction. So naa kay klaro nga direction for electric flux density because klaro naman, definite naman ang atuang object, no? Dili man ni siya kanang single surface lang, wata kay bawag asa na dapit. But sa atuang surface, atuang rectangular box, naa naman kay klaro nga direction, naa na kay klaro nga location. So that's why we have here AX, AY, AZ na, no? Okay? So for this one, how to solve? Okay? So again, kaunom ta mag-solve. We're going to solve the front surface, the back surface, the left, the right, and the top of the bottom. Now, since uno mo nakabook, let's start first with, okay, at, red lang. Okay, at the front surface. Okay, so, sir, taas na kayo ni sir, yung solution, sir. Maulang yung downside sa Gauss law. Okay, ang downside sa Gauss law is, kadaghan ka mag-solve. Pero, ang yapong advantage is, masimplify ang imuhang mga ipang-solve nga flux. Okay? Masimplify siya because kada surface man imuhang pag-solve. I-compare nimo sa divergence, ang divergence is as a whole. So therefore, kung as a whole siya, mas mahimo siyang complicated because muagi pa ka og differential calculus. But for Gauss law, integral na ka, kay imuha mang gitag sa tagsa. Okay? So, disadvantage lang yun is, kay imuha mang gitag sa tagsa, di kadaghan ka mag-solve. Okay? So first, flux sa front. So if we're going to, again, flux sa front, take note is just equal to the total charge, which is equal to, this time we're not going to use the, diba, supposedly that is surface charge density times differential area. But this time, dili na surface charge density because we have a definite form naman. Therefore, we're going to use the electric flux density times the differential surface. Okay? Now, recall for the flux density, you are given already the flux density. You have 4x squared. Okay? So, this will be integral of 4x squared AX plus 8y cube AY, ito ba? Okay, 8y cube AY niya 16 plus 16xyz squared AZ. Okay, so you have here your flux density times the differential surface. Now, what's the differential surface? Okay, technically, differential surface is differential area, ha? Okay, differential area na siya, ang differential surface. Dahil lang ang pangan, pero surface ug ang area parehas na. Now, unsa may differential area sa ato ang front? Okay? kung mabalik pa ka sa notes, magdugay-dugay ka lang, no? Kay, ang rectangular coordinate system, dali raman pag-determine unsay differential area niya. Okay? You just have to look at the dimensions. For example, sa front, unsa may dimension niya? Kani o kana. Na unsa man ang axis? This is basically y-axis and this is basically z-axis. Therefore, ang differential area di ay for this surface would be ang y o ang z. Differential area man, so that would be dy o dz. Therefore, this is dy dz. Okay? But, na ato ang electric flux density has a direction. Okay, ax, ay, ug az. Now, we cannot multiply the differential area with this electric flux density that has a direction. So, since naa may direction ang atong electric flux density, ang atong differential area should also have a direction. Di pwede nga ang electric flux density lang ang naay direction. Napangutana, unsaon man ito pag-duos direction sa differential area, sir? Okay, that's very easy. Now, take note, if ang flux or if ang charge aray mag-display sa front surface, asa man ang iyahang direction kung aray manggawas, no? So, klaro na kayo, kung diri manggawas sa front surface ang imuhang flux, syempre, ang iyahang direction would be this one. Okay? Muna ako anong gi-copy kani nga object, it's because naa naman ko yung mga arrows. So, kung diri manggawas, no, or diri mang-displace ang ako ang mga charges, syempre, inigawas niya ani nga surface, ang iyang direction would be kani nga direction. Okay? Inigawas diri. So, kung mag-top view ko, ang kaning nga surface inigawa sa mga charges diha, syempre na ilahang direction. Okay? So top view. Pangutana unsa man nga direction? Now if you're going to relate this in a rectangular coordinate system, wait. Di ba sa rectangular coordinate system, you have this one. Okay. So recall ax, ay, o dili ax. X-axis, y-axis, o z-axis. Now, kung dari manggawas ang mga charges sa front surface, unsa man iyang direksyon? So, very obvious, that is along the positive x-axis. So, kung positive x-axis ang mga charges, ang direction sa mga charges na manggawas sa front surface, then very obvious, this will be ax. Okay? Ang direction sa surface area sa front would be ax. Now, sir, unsa man ipag-multiply aniron, sir? Okay. First, we're going to distribute that product naman eh. Okay, this is just a simple dot product na recall. Ang mga properties for multiplication can be applied in a dot product. So we can apply distributive property. So ito na i-distribute. So when we distribute this one, you will have 4x squared ax times dy dz ax plus integral sa 8y cubed ay times dy dz okay, ax plus okay, the last nga distribution, you have integral sa 16xyz squared az times dy dz ax. Okay, sir, unsaon man na pag integrate ron, sir, nga naa may mga direksyon, naa may ax o ay o az. Okay, now this is very simple. Why? If we are going to arrange, no, let's say for example, kanina sa sinugdanan, ato ning i-arrange. Ato na lang i-arrange tanan, no. Ato ning i-arrange, iusa nato ang direction, iusa sa nato kani sila. So this will become 4x squared nya dy dz nya ax og ax. Okay? So, ato nang gi-arrange. Plus, you have 8y cubed times dy dz times ax ay. Okay? Mas magdi na to niya niyon, be. Mas dali kung atong diretsoon. Murag mas masabtan siguro kung atong diretsoon, no? Now, unsaon man ipag-multiply? Now, as you can see here, okay, as man ko, green lang. As you can see here, diba, this part here is the magnitude. And this part here is the direction. Okay? Same with this one. Kaning dy dz nimo, this is a magnitude. And your ax here is the direction. Okay? Also, with the other integration, mo gyapon, this is magnitude. Yeah, this is direction. Then magnitude, then direction. Okay? Nya kanisad. Same gyapon, this is magnitude, direction, then magnitude, then direction. Okay. So may akong i-imply ani nganong gibutangan mo ko nag magnitude direction. Now, di ba? This is just a simple dot product. Okay? Basta multiplication gani nga simple nga multiplication or regular nga multiplication, that is related to simple dot product. Now recall, di ba ang dot product? Okay, recall. Recall kanilang block. Recall, if you have vector A dot vector B, that is just equal to the magnitude of vector A times the magnitude of vector B, cosine of the angle between A and B. So recall ta ani nga formula sa dot product. Now, we can relate it here. We can have this as our vector A, and we can also have this as our vector B. Diba? This is vector, kaya na ay magnitude and direction. This is also another vector. It has magnitude and direction. We can have this as our vector A, and we can also have this as our vector B. So with this formula, pwede na ito ma-apply dire. Okay? Therefore, this becomes, okay, for the first one, this becomes magnitude sa vector A. Ang magnitude sa vector A, you have 4x squared. Diba? So that is 4x squared times magnitude sa vector B. Ang magnitude sa vector B, you have this one, dy dz. dy dz times cosine of the angle between A and B. Now, how to determine the angle between vector A and vector B? It's very obvious. Just look at the direction. For vector A, iyang direction is AX, meaning naa sa x-axis. For vector B, ang iyang direction is AX, meaning naapod gihapon siya sa x-axis. Vector A is on the x-axis and vector B is in the x-axis. What will be the angle between the two of them? O sige, yun sa may angle between sa vector A o vector B, if they are both in the x-axis.
Walay angle.
Walay angle. Or that is, in terms of numerical value, that is 0. So this, therefore, this will be cosine of 0. Diba? Now, take note, cosine of 0, that is 1. Okay? So kung 1 na, yan na lang na, ato sang i-diretso, no? Ato sang i-apply dari plus. Okay? Applying the same formula here. Usual, this will be our vector A and this will be our vector B. So, magnitude sa vector A, you have 8y cubed times magnitude sa vector B, you have dy dz. Okay? Times cosine of the angle between them. For this vector, naa siya sa y-axis. And for this vector, naa siya sa x-axis. O, pila may angle between nilang duha? Pila? Pila yung angle between nilang duha? Ang usa nasa y-axis, ang usa nasa x-axis.
90.
90. Okay, so cosine of 90. Then, arin na sad ta. You have magnitude for this vector, 16xyz squared, okay, times magnitude for this vector, dy dz. Then, cosine of the angle between them. Ang kaning vector, its location is in the z-axis. While kaning vector, ang location is in the x-axis. O, pila may angle between nilang duha? 90 gihapon.
90.
So, ngano 90 man gihapon. Recall no, inani ba itong forma? This is the z-axis and this is the x-axis. So, each of them has 90 degree, okay, out of phase between each other. No? Okay? So, for this one, cosine of 90 gihapon. Now, diri na magdaog. Cosine of 0 is 1. Cosine of 90 is 0. Cosine of 90 again is 0. Therefore, 0 ni. 0 sad ni. O saan nalay may bilin? So, sir, tagbaw kay tagtag sa taas kay itong solusyon niya. Sorry, di mabili, ma-zero na dahil uban. Yes, that is the, that is the fate of the other formulas. Okay, the other equations, mahimo ra gid na silang zero. Usa ra gyud mahibilin. So, ang mahibilin di is just 4x squared dy. By the way, no? Integral pa din ha, integral. Okay, integral. Wala pa man nato nag-integrate. Ato umang gi-apply ang dot product nila. Okay? So, mahibilin, ito nang i-erog ang mahibil kay magdoon na kayo. Flux sa front will be, ang mahibilin is kanina lang integral sa 4x squared dy dz. Okay? Uy, dy dz niya ato ang variable kay x man. So therefore, this x will be considered as constant. So ato na ipagawas 4x squared. So may bilin is integral sa dy dz. Okay? So sa may tabuan na, that becomes 4x squared. Integral sa dy, that is y. Integral sa dz, that is z. Now, sa itong limits. Sa y kay 0 to 5, sa z kay 1 ug 4. Okay? Sa y, 0 to 5, sa z kay 1 to 4. So this becomes 4x squared times 5 minus 0 times 4 minus 1. Okay? Take note, this becomes 5 and this becomes 3. So 4 times 5, 20 times 3, 60. So flux sa front will be 60x squared. Sir, napalagi gihapon x. Sa ano to pagkaibaw sa value gid ani pila gid ang flux sa front. Now, kanang x diha, okay? Ato ra nang ma-substitute. Saan na to na pag-substitute sa x? Now, you're going to determine since flux sa front man ta, asa man dapit ang location sa front surface. Okay? Now, to determine asa dapit ang location sa front surface, you base it on the limits. Excuse me. If we're going to base it on the limits, kung ato gid na siyang ikuan, no? Kung ato gid na siyang i-plot og tarong, okay? I-plot gid natog tarong ang ato ang object based sa limits nga gihatag. First, ang ato ang x-axis kay 0 to 3. So meaning kung 0, kanilang green. 0 from here, then 0 to 3. So let's say 1, 2, 3. Okay, kana. Then ang y, so meaning ang left o ang right, 0 to 5. So kung 0 to 5, there first 0, then 5, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, gani. Okay. Then ang top o ang bottom from 1 to 4. So kung 1 to 4 na, therefore wala dere. Ato ning iirog. Okay, wala nilabot. Wala sa nilabot. Wala nilabot. Ito ning irog, let's say 1. O kana mo na 1. Okay, for example. Then 1 to 4. I-assume na ito nga mo ni 4. Okay? So therefore, mo ni ato ang object. Okay? So therefore, mo ni atong object, no? My goodness, mag-erase at kay daghag sobra-sobra. Na? Okay, so mo ni atong object based sa location. Okay, so mo ni ang object, no? Now, asa man dapit located ang front surface? Now, ang front surface, we all know, nga based sa ato ang limits from 0 to 3, ang kanang 0, maunay back. Di ba? Nya ang kanang 3, maunay front. Therefore, ang ato ang front surface is located at x equals 3. So, mo din ni ato ang front surface, mo din ni ato ang back surface. So, ato ang front surface is located at x equals 3. So, applying that one at, okay, but front surface, okay, but front surface is located at x equals 3. Okay, so therefore, ang ato di ay flux sa front surface will become 60 times 3 squared, or this is 60 times 9. Okay? So this becomes 540. Sakto ba? Sakto ba, guys? Asa naman eh? Asa naman ito estudyante eh? Okay na. Okay, very good. Okay, so 540. Unsa may unit ani sir? Na-recall, flux is just equal to the charge. So kung equal na siya sa charge, therefore, unit niya is coulombs. Okay? Yes, mga gid sir. Uy, wa pa ta nahuman ha? Sa front surface pa na. Okay? Usa pa atong gisolve. Front pa, wa pay labot ang back. Naapay back, naapay left, right, top, ug bottom. Uy, gadaghan gud ana sir. Yes. Maoy, disadvantage sa Gauss Law. Kailangan ni mo sa tagsaon. Okay? Pero, taas lang ni tan-awon pag first, kay ako mang gi-demonstrate gyud no, one by one. Unsay mahitabo. Pero, kay bao naman ta, unsaon na to pag multiply ang mga direction, or unsaon na to pag dot product ang mga direction, then, for the next one, para sa back, pwede na nato diretsoon. Sige, diretsoon na nako. Para sa flux sa back, okay, again, it is equal to integral sa flux density times differential area. Okay, or that is, ang flux density that was, pila ganito, 4x squared ax plus 8y cubed ay plus 16xy z squared az times, unsa may differential area sa back? Okay, unsa may differential area sa back surface? Basically, ang back surface nimo parehas ra sa front surface, di ba? Ang dimension sa imuhang back maora po dimension sa imuhang front. Okay? So dito dimension sa front. Ang dimension sa front kay z og y. Therefore, ang dimension sa imuhang back would be z og y ra gihapon. Therefore, ang differential area sa back parehas ra sa front, that is dy dz. Pero unsa may direction sa back? Okay, so you imagine if the charges will flow out sa back nga surface, unsa man iyang direction? So as you can see here, kaning arrow, kung charges mugawas diri sa back nga surface, ang iyang direction would be towards the negative x-axis. So kung negative x-axis na, therefore ang direction niya will be negative ax. So inana ang mahitabo. Okay? Now for this one, para dili na ka matagbaw, no, para dili na ka matagbaw og rewrite kay muha pa ning i-distribute, ayaw na. Okay? So maka-imagine naman nato, no, or ninyo nga i-distribute gid ni siya. So inig-distribute ana, idiretso na nato ang kaning nga part. Okay, ang kaning dot product na part. So ang pinaka-critical ani is ang angle between each other. Okay, mo ay pinaka-critical kay naay uban gyud ana inig-distribute, naay uban nga ma-0, naay uban nga mo 1. Okay? So atong diretsoon diri. First, kana you have ax and negative ax. Ang kani siyang equation is kani siyang vector is located at the positive x-axis, while this one is located at the negative x-axis. What is the angle between the two of them?
180.
180 degrees. Cosine of 180? Negative 1. Automatic, negative 1. Naa diretso para dili na mo taas og maayo ang solution. Next, negative ax og ay. Ang usa nasa positive y axis, ang usa nasa negative x axis. What is the angle between the two of them? Positive y and negative ax? 90 gihapon, okay? So sir nganong 90 man sir? So take note, ang negative x na diha. Okay? Nya mo na imong positive y. So angle between them is 90 gihapon. Nya cosine of 90, that is 0. Okay? Automatic 0. Then next, that one. This vector is located at the z-axis, while this one is located at the negative x-axis. Angle between them is
90.
90 gihapon. Cosine of 90, that is 0. Okay? Oy, for that one, ang mahibilin dahil nato nga i-distribute, kanina lang. Okay? So, mo na nga, mas mumubo na lang ang imuhang solution. Okay? Mas maayong diretsoon na lang nimo ginana, no? Kaysa sa imo pang tagsa-tagsaon o distribute nya, tagsa-tagsaon na sad nimo og inani, og that product, musamot kataas ang imong solution. Mupay unom ni ka, integral, nya imo pa yung tagsa-tagsaon, di musamot kapuno imuhang papel. Kana sigurong one whole nga bond paper or newsprint, hurot siguro na, no? Usara na ka number. Usara ka problem. So, para dili ka mutagbaw og suwat, diretso ginani. So, this becomes integral sa negative 4x squared nya, kanida yun, dy dz. Okay? Uy, di ba, kabantay mo, pare-parehas naman na ani, oh. Di ba? Positive lang ni. Positive lang ang sa front. Nya ang sa back, negative lang. Now, since parehas naman ha, sige, ato na lang ato na lang klarohon pag solve kay para di maglibog, basta niya maglibog bang anong ni kalit. So, negative 4x squared times integral sa dy dz. So, this becomes negative 4x squared. Integral sa dy is y. Integral sa dz is z. Take note, y has limits from 0 to 5. And z has limits from 1 to 4. So, this becomes negative 4x squared times 5 times 4 minus 1. Okay? So, of course, this becomes negative 60x squared. So, negative na. Okay? Parehas ra siya sa front, pero ang sa front, positive lang. Ang sa back, negative lang. Okay? But back surface. Okay? But back surface is located at asa man ang location sa back surface. Tanawa ang limits. Back surface is located at x equals 0. Okay? At x equals 0. Okay? Therefore, flux sa back is equal to negative 60 times 0 squared. Hala, oy, gikapoy-kapoy lang tag-solve sir niya. Ma-zero ra di ay ang flux sa back. Okay? That's the harsh truth. Kapoy kay solve niya, ma-zero ra di ay ito. Okay. 2 down, 4 to go. 2 down, mana ang front, mana ang back. So, upat na lang, left, right, top, o bottom. Okay, aray na po to sa left. Kumatay sir kadaghan, Diana sir. Yes, sinana gid ang may tabo, daghang kay solve. So, next, flux sa left. Okay, as usual, you have integral sa flux density times differential area or differential surface, or that is integral sa 4x integral sa 4x squared ax plus 8y cubed ay plus 16xyz squared az times differential area. This time, unsa may differential area sa left surface. Okay? Meaning, kanina nga surface, no? Kani nga surface. So, again, ayaw nagtanawa kay ang rectangular coordinate system, dali raman ang pag-determine sa surface. Okay? Di pareha sa cylindrical o sa spherical. Okay? So, sa rectangular, tanawa lang ang dimension. Ang dimension sa left surface would be kani o kani, no? Muni ang dimension sa left surface. Naunsa man ni siya nga axis. This is z and this is x-axis. Therefore, ang differential area di ay or differential surface di ay sa ato ang left surface would be dz o dx. Okay? Or that is dx dz. Atong chronological order, no, dx dz. Pero unsa may direction sa left surface? Now imagine again, if ang flux ari mo gawas, ari ma-display sa left surface, syempre ang direction sa mga charges, kung ari siya mo gawas sa left surface, is of course going to the left. Now, ang kanang direction na going to the left, that is obviously towards the negative y-axis. Okay? Kaya ang dari sa right is positive y man. So obviously, ang padong sa left is negative y. Therefore, ang direction for the left surface would be negative ay. Okay? Now, as usual, ayaw nag-distribute. Tagsa-tagsa. Okay, for this one, ax and negative ay. Angle between them is 90 gihapon. Cosine of 90, 0. AY and negative AY. Angle between them is 180. Cosine of 180, that is negative 1. And then AZ and negative AY. Angle between them is 90. Cosine of 90, that is 0. So, ang mahibilin ay for flux. Uy, green mo For flux sa left surface, this becomes integral of negative 8y cubed. So, negative 8 na ni, kinamtay negative 1. Then, dx dz. Okay? This one. So, mawagtang ani ha, kaya ito naman ang dot product. Uy, constant ang y sir kay dx dz man eh. So, this becomes negative 8y cubed integral sa dx dz, which in turn becomes negative 8y cubed. Integral sa x is, integral sa dx kay x. Integral sa dz kay z. Okay? So, recall limits for x and z. For x, 0 to 3. For z, 1 to 4. Okay? 0 to 3. Yeah, 1 to 4. Or, this becomes negative 8. My goodness, basta mag-save na. Negative 8y cubed times 3 times 4 minus 1. Okay? So, this becomes 3 also. 3 times 3, 9. 9 times 8. So, this becomes flux sa left is negative 72y cubed. But na siya. But, left surface. Okay, left surface is located at, asa may location sa imuhang left surface. Diri dapita. Okay, or in short, diri dapita. Now, you're going to look at the limits, of course. This will be the left. This will be the right. Ato ng diretsoon. Sa Z pod, this will be the top. Diday. This will be the bottom din eh. Okay, this will be the bottom and this will be the top. Okay? So sa left surface located at 0. Okay, it's located at y equals 0. Ay sus. Okay, red. So flux sa left is equal to 0 coulomb. Diretsoon na nato, 0 naman eh. Sus sir, kanang ma-0 sir, pwede dili na nato sulbon. No, you have to solve gyapon. Okay, you have to show nga 0 gid siya. Okay, di ko mosugot nga. Kaya di ko mosugot nga kay 0 man na. Pagkita nimo sa imong kauban nga 0 man ilang mga answer. 0 ko na lang ko ni. Diretso na ko ni. Kaya ayaw ha, I want you to show gihapon the solution nga 0 gid siya. Okay? Kay nana, dali ra biya kay pagpangopya. So inigtan-an nimo sa imong ikopyahan nga 0 man ni, diretso na lang nako y left equals 0. Okay? So, butangan dyan ko na question mark yun. Next, arita sa right. So, muna ta sa left, right na sadda. So, balik na sadda. So, what na sadda sa flux density times differential area or equivalent to 4x squared ax. 4x squared ax plus 8y cubed ay plus 16xy z squared az. Okay, times sa may differential area sa right. So, of course, ang area sa imuhang left surface, area sa imuhang left surface, parehas sa gid sa right surface. Makita naman sa demo sa dimension sa right surface. Ang dimension sa right surface, you have the z-axis and you have the x-axis. So, of course, dx dz gyapon. Okay? So, you have here dx dz. Now, unsa may location or unsa may direction di ay sa right surface. So, of course, kung ang charge mong gawas diri sa right surface, ang ilahang direction should be going towards the positive y-axis. So, going towards the positive y-axis, the direction for the right surface would be AY. Okay? Diretso na to. AX. AX o AY. Ang angle between them is 90. So, this becomes 0. AY and AY, angle between them is 0. Cosine of 0, that is 1. And AZ and AY, angle between them is 90. Cosine of 90, that is 0. Therefore, flux sa right would be equivalent to, okay, parehas raan pero positive lang. Integral sa 8y cubed dx dz. Okay? So for this one, diretso na nato ha, integral. So this becomes 8y cubed. Integral sa dx, that becomes x. Integral sa dx is x. Then integral sa dz is z. With limits, of course, from 0 to 3 and from 1 to 4. This becomes 8y cubed times 3 times 4 minus 1. Therefore, flux sa right will become positive 72y cubed. But right surface. Okay? But right surface is located at y equals, look at the limits, you have y equals 5. Okay? So you have at y equals 5, therefore flux right would become 72 times 5 cube. Sige, asan ito kung calcu eh? Hey, where's the day? 5 cube times 72. That is 9,000. So this is 9,000 columns. You have your flux sa right. Okay, 4 down. 2 more to go. Okay, duha na lang. Okay, ang nabilin nga duha, that is ang top ug ang bottom. Sige, asan ito? Ano lang to be? Flux sa top. Of course, integral sa flux density times differential area, or that is integral sa 4x squared ax plus 4x squared ax plus 8y cubed ay plus 16xyz squared az. Differential area sa top surface. Differential area sa top surface mo ni imuhang dimensions. Dimensions sa top surface would be kani, which is x-axis, and kani, which is y-axis. So that is dx, dy. Okay? So you have here dx, dy. Now, unsa may direction sa top surface. So of course, kung manggawas ang charge diri sa top surface, its direction would be going towards the positive z-axis. Or that is positive az. Okay? Now, distribute AZ and AX. Angle between them is 90. Cosine of 90, 0. AY and AZ. Angle between them is 90. Cosine of 90 is 0. AZ and AZ. Angle between them is 0. Cosine of 0, that is 1. Okay? So therefore, flux sa top would be equivalent to integral sa kanina po, 16xyz squared dx dy. Okay? So for this one, mahimo ni siyang paggawas na ko ang constant. Ang constant ani kay kaning 16 og z squared. 16 z squared integral sa x dx integral sa y dy. Uy, minuzim na kung ibutang. Okay? So this becomes 16z squared integral sa x dx, that is x squared over 2. Then, for y, that is y squared over 2. Limits, for x, that is 0 to 3. And for y, that is 0 to 5. Sakto ba to? For x, 0 to 3, and y is 0 to 5. So, with that, mga tuwa ding flux sa top would become 16z squared times you have 3 squared over 2 minus 0 times 5 squared over 2 minus 0. Or this is, you have 3 squared over 2 sayo pa butang kamatay times 5 squared over 2. That is 225 over 4. My goodness, answer. 225 over 4 times 16. It is 900. So this is 900 z squared. But top surface, okay, is located at ang top surface na to, which is this one, kani siya nga part, no? Tanaw na to sa limits. Ang top surface located at z equals 4. Located at z equals 4. So this becomes Flux sa top. Hey. Flux sa top. This becomes, okay, 900 times 4 squared. That is 14,400. 14,400, okay, coulombs. So you have the flux sa top. Last na gid in town, na gid as last part. Flux sa bottom. Okay, integral sa flux density times differential area equals integral sa 4x squared ax, okay, plus 8y cubed ay plus 16xy z squared az. Okay, at sa may differential area sa bottom, of course, ang area sa bottom parehas ra sa top. Or bisan pag dili mo tanawon lang nato ang bisag dili mo i-compare, tanawon lang nato ang dimension sa bottom, you have x and y gihapon. Okay? So therefore, ang differential area sa bottom still ang gihapon the same nga dx dy. Now, unsa may direction kung ang charges ari manggawa sa bottom? Of course, padung sa ubos. And kanang padung sa ubos, that is negative az. It is negative az. Okay? So, as usual, AX and negative AZ, angle between them is 90, cosine of 90, 0. AY and negative AZ, angle between them is 90, cosine of 90, 0. AZ and negative AZ, angle between them is 180 degrees, cosine of 180, that is negative 1. Okay? So, therefore, flux, limot you could change that. Flux sa bottom becomes negative 16x, integral sa negative 16xyz squared dx dy, or this is equivalent to negative 16 z squared integral sa x dx integral sa y dy, or this is negative 16 z squared. You have x over 2 and y over 2 with limits 0 to 3 and 0 to 5. Okay? So, flux sa bottom becomes parehas ra ani. Okay? Pero, negative lang. Okay? Ang bottom, negative lang. So, this becomes negative 900 z squared. But, usual, but, bottom surface, okay, is located at z equals, look at the limits. Ang bottom surface located at z equals 1. Oy, dili na jud ma-0 in town. At z equals 1. So, therefore, this becomes 1 squared. So, ang flux sa bottom will become negative 900 coulombs. Oh, ha? Sir, managit na, sir. Uy, wala pa. Wala pa man, sir. Ang pangitaon ani kay flux total man. So, ato sang isang up tanan. Okay, therefore, flux total is equal to, take note, flux sa front, sum up ng tanan, no? Ang flux sa front, that is 540. Plus, ang flux sa back, 0. Flux sa left, 0. Flux sa right, 9,000. Plus, flux sa top, 14,400. Okay? Plus, flux sa bottom, negative 900. Okay, pila may answer? Flux total is equal to, you have 540 plus 0 plus 0 plus 9,000 plus 14,400 minus 900. Answer is 23,040. Okay, asa naman ito dara? 23,040 columns. You have your final answer. Woo! Sa hinaba-haba ng posisyon, final answer din ang tuloy. Okay. So far, any question, mga pangutana?
Wala, sir.
Wala ra. As you can see here, ang atong arag yung gibuhat is integrate. Integrate, integrate, integrate. wala gid tay bag-o nga natay bag-o nga topic pero wala tay bag-o nga process. Because bisan pag bag-o siya nga topic, ang process is still the old school integration. Integrate, integrate, integrate. So mauna nga, 10:37 na. Mauna nga ang prerequisite is integral calculus. Okay, sir, pwede maghatag og laing example, sir. Now, before ta maghatag og laing example or before ta mag-solve og lain nga given, ang purpose aning ang purpose sa Gauss law is of course to solve for the flux total by summing up the individual flux in every surface. Okay? Now, that is totally opposite sa divergence. Uy, click na. Ang divergence, okay? Something divergence. Divergence of a vector is dependent on the type of coordinate system. Something ng word nga divergence. Now, divergence from the root word diverge. Okay? Diverge. Ano lang diverge? Opposite sa diverge is converge. Samsad ng converge. Ang converge, pasabot sa converge, padong magtapok. Diba? Ang converge, magtapok. So, unsa day ng diverge? Ang diverge is mubungkag. Okay? So, kung ang converge matapok, okay, mauni ang converge. Therefore, ang diverge di ay is basically pabungkag. Okay, going outwards. Yeah, basically, di ba kanang going outwards, maura mangyapon na ang concept sa electric flux. Okay? Gikan ka sa center or gikan sa sud sa imuhang object, padong manggawas ang imuhang mga electric flux. Di ba maura mangyapon na ang concept sa diverge ug ang imuhang displaced charges. Parehas ra og concept. So that's why ma-apply ra gyapon ang divergence when it comes to getting the total flux. Okay? But before you solve for the total flux, you have to determine sa pila ang divergence sa kana nga vector. Pila ang divergence sa kana nga flux density. So, you have to determine first unsa day ang rate of scatter, no? Ang rate sa pagbungkag sa imuhang electric flux. Okay, you have to determine first unsa ka kusga, unsa ka paspasa ang pagbungkag sa imuhang flux present in the center or inside the object. Okay? So that is determining first the divergence of that certain vector. Pero magdepende sa coordinate system. Lain-lain og formula in every coordinate system. Okay? So kung rectangular coordinate system ka, this is the formula. Kung cylindrical coordinate system ka, this is the formula 1 over the radius rho, partial derivative of rho times the rho component over with respect to rho, plus partial derivative of the phi component with respect to phi, plus partial derivative of the z component with respect to z. For spherical coordinate system, medyo mas complicated pa yun. So that is 1 over r squared times partial derivative of the r squared times the r component with respect to r, plus 1 over r sine theta. Okay, partial derivative of sine theta times the phi component with respect to phi, plus 1 over r sine theta, partial derivative of the z component with respect to z. Okay? So you have to determine first the divergence. The divergence of that certain vector or sa mga nga vector ang pasabot di sir. Ang pasabot sa vector dito is ang imuhang electric flux density. Okay? Arito sa ubos. Uy, hindi naman masakto. Sabi na lang ko dito sa right. For divergence, okay, for ito na lang ning okay, for divergence, solving for the total flux will just be integral of the divergence of the flux density, electric flux density, times the differential volume. Okay? Maura, ana ra ka-simple ang divergence. Okay? Even if simple na kayo ang pagkuha sa total flux sa divergence, ari sa kapat yun sa pagkuha first sa divergence. Okay? Okay ra or sayon ra kung rectangular coordinate system, pero what if kung spherical? So medyo ma-complicated yun. So for this one, baligduha ay muhang process. You first start with differential calculus, then you will finish it with integral calculus. Okay? Pero again, even if lahi ang method, dapat parehas ra og answer. Sige, let's solve this same problem, okay, using divergence. So, first nga process kung divergence atong gamiton is solving the divergence of the electric flux density. Okay? Pero kung rectangular, dali ra man kaayo to, no? You don't have to worry sa rectangular. That is partial derivative sa again, diretso ra ta. Partial derivative sa x component with respect to x, partial derivative sa y component with respect to y, plus partial derivative sa z component with respect to z. So, diretso ra na. So, ang x component sa ato ang flux density is, ang x component niya is kaning ax gyud. So, that is ang 4x squared. Ang y component is ang 8y cubed. Nya ang z component is ang kaning 16xyz squared. Therefore, we have here partial derivative sa 4x squared with respect to x plus partial derivative sa 8y cubed, okay, with respect to y, plus partial derivative sa 16xyz squared with respect to z. For this one, you have to recall sa mantong differential, itong derivative formula, sir. So therefore, sa muna ni ron. Sa akong experience, no, sa akong mga previous students before, okay, napay previous, napay before. Sa akong mga previous students, ang maproblemahan ni Dani so far, no, is ma-mistaken og integral. So, ang uban kay, okay, derivative sa 4x squared with respect to x, mahimong 4x cubed over 3. Uy, take note, integral na ha, integral ni. Dili ni, differential. Unay kung nabantayan gid kasagaran nga sayop sa ako mga estudyante before. Ma-mistaken for integral kay nasanay nga magsigig integrate. Take note, this is differential calculus, partial derivative ni. So ang partial derivative sa 4x squared, that becomes, so imuha exponent i-multiply nimo diri. Okay, then ang imuha exponent minusan og 1. So this becomes 8x plus this one 8y cubed. So 8 times 3 24, this becomes 24y squared. Plus this one, 0 man ang ato ang kuhaan og derivative, so this becomes 16 times 2, that is 32 xy z. Okay, so ang z squared minusan og 1, so z na lang. So this is the divergence of the electric flux density D. So solving for the total flux would be integral sa 8x plus 24y squared plus 32xyz times differential volume. Ito mo differential volume. Kung rectangular ka, sa yun na kayo, diba? dx, dy, dz. Sir, wala direction, sir. This time, wala na direction. Kaya puros naman mga magnitude, diba? For this one, ang divergence sa imuhang flux density kay magnitude naman na puros. Wala man na direction. So, this is magnitude. Therefore, imong differential volume, magnitude rapod. Okay? So, for this one, atong buhaton is very obvious. You have to distribute integral sa 8x dx dy dz plus integral sa 24y squared dx dy dz plus integral sa 32xyz dx dy dz. Okay? So, this becomes, tagsa-tagsaon ta ni, so, taas mo gyapon ni. This is, pagwas na kong 8, integral sa x dx, that would be x squared over 2. Okay? Then, integral sa dy, that is y. Integral sa dz, that is z. Okay? Plus, kani, 24 times integral sa dx, that is x. Integral sa dy, that is y. Uy, diday, y squared dy mo din eh. This is y cubed over 3 times integral sa dz, that is z. And lastly, 32 times integral sa x dx, x squared over 2 times integral sa y dy, that is y squared over 2, and integral sa z dz, that is z squared over 2. Okay? Then, using the limits, 8 times, recall, ang x kay 0 to 3, ang y kay 0 to 5, ang z kay 1 to 4. So, this would be 3 squared over 2 minus 0 times 5 minus 0 times 4 minus 1 plus 24 times 3 minus 0. Kani, this is 5 cube over 3 minus 0. Then times 4 minus 1 plus 32. Then 3 squared over 2 minus 0 times 5 squared over 2 minus 0 times, this is 4 squared over 2 minus 1 squared over 2. Okay. So, ang haba-haba naman ito. This becomes 9 halves. Kani 5, kani 3. Kani 3. Kani 25. 5 cube. Ay. 5 cube, that is 125. 125 divided by 3. Okay, 125 over 3 again. 125 over 3. Okay, then this is 3. Okay, then this one, this becomes 9 halves. Kani 25 over 2. Kani 16 halves minus 1 half, so 15 over 2. Okay, so answer is 8. Okay, times 9 halves times 5 times 3. This is 540. Plus, you have 24 times 3 times 125 over 3 times 3. This is 9,000. Plus, ang katapusan, you have 32 times 9 halves times 15. 25 halves eh. Times 15 halves. This is 13,500. So, i-add ito tanan, plus 9,000, plus 540, 23,040. Plus total, 23,040. Parihas ba? Yes, 23,040 columns. Okay? So, lain-lain nga method, pero the same answer. Sir, mas mubo lagi ang answer. Mas mubo lagi ang divergence, sir. Now, do not be deceived. Okay? Because, mag-agad na sa imuhang flux density. The more complicated ang flux density, okay, or magdepende sa complicatedness sa imuhang flux density. Okay? Kaya there are equations wherein sayon ra kaayo i-integrate. Pero complicated kaayo i-differentiate. Okay? Or possibly nga mubo ra kaayo kung gamitan og Gauss law, possibly nga taas kayo kung gamitan og divergence. Pwede mo inana. Okay? So, again, do not be deceived. It's not always nga mubo kung gamitan og Gauss law nya, taas kung gamitan og Gauss law nya, mubo kung gamitan og divergence. There are certain scenarios, okay, wherein mubo ra kayo kung gamitan og Gauss law pero taas kayo kung gamitan og divergence. Okay, so there are certain scenarios na inana. So, do not be deceived. So far, any questions? Mga pangutana regarding Gauss law and divergence? Okay, wala ra no? Now, as you can see here, dali ra jud kay ni kay integral ra gid og differential. So argid mo buhaton lain, mag-remember ra gid sa integral of differential formulas. Integrate, differentiate, integrate kung Gauss law, puro ra gid ka integrate. Kung divergence, mag-differentiate sa kaprimero. Pero take note na naman kay fixed formula sa differential no part, sa partial derivative sa divergence. Okay, you have to take note lang of the formula. Okay, ang formula na ara dire no. So, kung sa rectangular, kung cylindrical, o kung spherical. Okay? So, all in all, there is no new process. Integrate ra gyud og differentiate. Balik-balik ra gyud ta ani gyud. Balik ra gyud ta sa calculus ninyo ani. Okay. Now, next meeting, mag-sit to work ta next meeting. That will be on Tuesday na next week. My goodness. Hindi araw eh. Okay, Tuesday next week, mag-sit to work ta. On the first hour, okay, the first hour from 9 to 10, I will give you, nani lang, no? I will give you a single problem. But you have to solve the flux total using both methods. Using both Gauss Law and Divergence. Sige, di na nato eh. Ayun, kuwan lang. Sige, 1 hour and 20 minutes. Okay? So, ano may metabo sa remaining time? Ang metabo sa remaining time, atong sulbon. Okay? O sakto ba na inyong ipambuhat? Okay? So, after 1 hour and 20 minutes, meaning from 9 to 10:20, mag-sit-work ta. Okay? So, nag 10:20, dapat makapass na mo. After 10:20, mag-meet ta kay atong sulbon ang inyuhang sit-work. Sakto ba inyuhang gipambuhat? Sakto ba na inyuhang gipang kopya diha, no? Sakto bang binuhat? Sakto bang solusyon sa inyuhang mga classmate? Okay, sakto bang gipada nga kuan, picture sa solusyon? Okay, so that would be next meeting. Any questions? By the way, nag-record mo guys. Nag-record eh. Any questions?
Wala, sir.
Oh, remember ha, remember in town, mag-sit to work ta
None,
next
sir.
meeting. From 9 to 10:20, mag-sit to work ta. So, ayaw in town mo, pagdugay-dugay og mata. Kay inig 10:20, i-close na dayon nako ang sit work because sulbon man dayon nato inig human. So, dili na ko mudawat og late submissions after sa 10:20. After sa deadline, di na ko mudawat og late submissions. Kay sulbon nato dayon inig human. Okay? Klaro ba?